You're listening to the God Life Culture podcast, where faith
and what's trending collide. Welcome to the latest episode of the God Life Culture podcast. This is Eddie.
What's up, everyone? This is Miguel, and you are listening to the God Life Culture podcast. If this is your first time listening, we want to say welcome to the God Life Culture podcast. We hope that you are blessed and encouraged by today's conversation. If you are a returning listener, we want to say welcome back, and we hope that you are just enjoying all of these episodes, enjoying these conversations. If there's an episode you missed or have not heard, go back and check it out. We have episodes, over 100 episodes in all of the apps and on YouTube. You can go check it out as well. But be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can be notified every time we drop a new episode. Eddie, we are officially
in June.
No, not yet.
Oh, no, it's the last day of May.
Today's the last weekend of May.
Yes,
right?
That's true.
But June's basically like tomorrow.
Yes.
And before we get into our episode, we do want to say that in the summer, we are going to be releasing episodes bi-weekly. That's what you say, right? Bi-weekly?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be every other week. So starting with this week, right? It'll be every other week. And we, for the last 2 years, have been doing it every week. Recording, right? And having episodes every week.
Yep.
We take off in the beginning of the year, right? And then we
go all the way to the end.
And we really started doing that the last like 2.5 years. Yeah. So with this year, with the arrival of my baby, right? I need to take some time to do that. So we're going to be just cutting it back.
Yeah.
For good reasons, right? And then eventually come back to normal schedule after that.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day when it was my time to be on paternity leave, you know, it was also during a time we weren't doing it every week as well. So it segued pretty well for me. But you know, we got to do what we got to do. You know, I think we've spoken about parenthood, we've spoken about fatherhood, and you know, it's important for you to be present, not only for your spouse but also for the baby as well. And you know what? It's when you have the ability and the flexibility to move stuff around, you do it, and that's perfectly fine. And I know everyone is going to be very understanding of that, and you'll support us through the journey. And you will, the weeks that we are not releasing a new episode, you're going back listening to the old ones and sharing them. You know, why not be of support for us as well? Yeah,
absolutely. So today I came across this video that I told you about.
You did.
And it was cringy.
Yeah.
Very cringy.
Yeah.
And it was a video on Christian dating that was recorded and filmed in the 80s.
Yes.
And it resurfaced. And people have been watching it. And people have been sharing. And people have been basically reacting, right, to this video on Christian dating.
Yes.
In the 80s.
Yes.
Were you born in the 80s?
I was born in the late 80s.
You were?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Our birthdays are coming up, actually. My birthday is next week.
Yes.
Your birthday is
the following.
A few days after, right? Yeah. Following.
Yeah, it's 5 days later.
And 5 days difference, 5 years difference. Look at that. You are 5 years older.
What does the number 5 mean? We got to look that up in theology. That has to mean something.
Grace?
Well,
let's see. This is good to look up. Let's see if
your memory provided that information accurately.
In the Bible.
Grace.
You see that? Go. Look at God. The grace of God.
Anyways, back on track.
Hype me up. So, so today I want you guys to hear the video.
Yeah.
All right.
And
so
if you can, look it up because it's actually, it is.
If you type in Christian dating 1980s, it'll come up because it's out there.
Yeah. But it's visually, it is entertaining.
You need to see it.
Just because it's very, you know, it's 80s. It's 80s stuff. So there's things about it that you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Others like, yo, they were crazy for doing or dressing that way. And then there's other things that like, you know, people wearing that today. That same outfit somebody I saw today wearing. So,
no, and then the other thing is too that they also like sound very sarcastic. So I don't know, like, are you being for real or are you joking? Like, is it? Are you actually meaning this, or is this like a type of parody situation? Even in the 80s, you were like making fun of like the Christian dating scene.
Or were you forced by the youth pastors at the time to do this? So so they're like, we really don't want to do this. Right. That's why Becky's dating 5 other guys. Right. Which you got to see the video.
You have to see the video to understand, because it's the same girl. With different guys. Wait, I don't know how. Anyway. That wasn't a good look. That wasn't a good look.
But you know what? That's a discussion point, because what is dating? You know, even
for
in Christian
some, it's
circles,
it's exclusive, and then for other people, it's like, no, I can date you and this one. We're not committed yet.
Yes, because I've known people from both realms in the Christian world. But let's do the video.
And it also depends on what age you're dating, because when you're 18 and dating, and then 36 and dating, it's very different.
All right, so then I'm gonna have you break that down to see which one is the one that can be commingling and which one is the one that is nah.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's listen to this video.
Sometimes when us teenagers are dating, we feel like we're locked in and there's not too many things to do out there. Well, actually, Christ gives us a lot of fun things to do.
And today we'll show you a few of the things that we thought of to do, and it really breaks the monotony of dating. So just come with us and we'll have some fun today.
Bowling! Yeah. Last time I got a 300. How about you?
I got a 67.
Great. Let's go.
Okay.
Now here's something you probably never thought of, and it's always around.
Yeah, you'll get a real roar out of it. It's the zoo.
Hey, let's go talk to the animals. I've never been ice skating before, but I heard it was pretty cool, so I decided to take my girlfriend on a date here. And the funny thing is, we can even go ice skating in Arizona. Let's go. Dates don't have to be limited to a couple. Go in a group and things get wild and crazy.
Going to a movie is a very common, everyday thing to do. But going on a date to see one can be real fun.
They're very entertaining, and they're really not that much.
Hey, let's go see that movie, right?
Okay, let's go.
Why don't you try something fun, like racquetball? You can even try doubles. You don't have to be good.
Here's a great way to experience the outdoors and your date. A picnic in the park.
You can swing, slide, and even a little frisbee. Now here's a challenging idea, horseback riding. It's outdoors, nice weather. It's really a nice idea.
Personally, I think it stinks. No, I'm just joking, Darren. You can have a great time. Okay, let's go check out this horse over here.
Here's a new twist. How about just an intimate candlelight dinner? Just you and your girl.
Even if it is frozen.
Oh, come on. It's not frozen. I spent all day on this.
Sure.
She tight.
So as you can hear, it's cringy. It's very cringy and very like infomercial, like selling a product, but not. We're Christian, but are we really?
No, I think it's just cringy because of the acting. Yeah, honestly. But these are all things that people still do. Yeah, people still go to the movies. Yeah, people going to the zoo sounds cheesy, but can be really cute.
And I think people have done that.
Yes, absolutely. I think everybody's done every single one. What do you say?
I'm saying people have done that.
Yes. You say
have you done that? You've gone to the zoo.
Yeah. I've done zoo stuff and everything like that. Central Park.
Yeah, like planetarium.
Yeah, you do all those type of stuff. And I just think it's the funniness of the styling of what the 80s fashion wise looked like back then. And there's also the acting. It's kind of like funny and cheesy. And you notice that there's a couple of people that are like dating other people. Like she went on a date with this one ice skating, but then she's at the zoo with somebody else. So it's kind of like, girl, what you doing? But whatever. But it's just funny. Maybe they didn't have that many actors to rotate, or
it's the budget,
or she's living her life. She's like, you know what? I'm not committed to anyone. I'm dating for the sense of getting to know someone. And I think that's what we were speaking of. We were about to jump into that subject before, where when it comes to actually dating, I think that definition, depending where you come from, changes. You know, there's people that court, and then there's people that date, and then there's people like, well, I'm only, you know, I'm going out with someone just to get to know them, and there's other people that are like, oh no, I'm going out with someone because they're potentially going to be my husband or my wife. You know, so I think then the level or the degree of seriousness and intention with the word dating varies from person to person.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I think there are those individuals, and I think, like I said, it depends on age, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I said age is because when you're 18, you have time. You know, you are still young. There are still things that you haven't, you know, reached or accomplished or goals you haven't met yet, right? So if you're dating and you're 18, a lot of times it may not be as serious, right? Or it may not be for some individuals where they're looking for this huge commitment. They're looking for someone to marry. Some people, I think, just date to date, right? To get to know people, to talk to people and all of that. But then there are those individuals who date, like you said, with the intention of, no, I want to settle down. Like, I want to marry.
Yeah.
But then when you're older, right, you can't be dating for 6-7 years with that person or 5 years with that individual. So I feel like the process changes a little bit as you get older, right? When you're in your 30s, you know what you want already. You're confident, mate, hopefully in yourself, right? Confident in who you are as a person. Where then when you're in your teens and you're dating, I think you're still trying to figure yourself out. Or even early 20s, right? You're still trying to figure out, like, okay, what do I like in the sense of just as a person, and what I like to do and what I want to do with my life and all of those things. You're still, for some people, trying to figure it out. There are those people who, like, for instance, I knew I wanted to be a teacher since like kindergarten, right? But then there are other things in life that you start thinking about or developing, and you start, you know, it changes from year to year and moment to moment, right? And I think for some individuals, it's those life decisions that they have to make that sometimes they're not ready, right, to really settle down. And that's why dating just becomes like they're just having fun in these, you know, different parties or situations, right? When we talk about Christian dating, I think oftentimes, especially in the Hispanic, right, Latino church, when it comes to Christian dating, I think it's, unfortunately, a lot of times it's who is the person that God has for you, and that person that you're dating is potentially the person that God has for you, right? Like, and that could be good, but then it could also be like, I think it's okay to just date someone and ask God and be like, Lord, you know, if this is the person you have for me, you have them for me, but I'm gonna date them. I'm gonna go through with this, as opposed to this concept of like dating is wrong and you have to wait for the person that God has for you, and that's not the one that God has for you. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in that, where it's like, well, it's also okay just to go on a date. Like, you can do that as a Christian and not get caught up in all of the, but is this the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with? Is this the person God has for me? Am I missing the person that God has for me? Right. And I mean, I've had conversations with individuals in their teens who are like 14, even when I was a teen, like 14, 15 years old, still in high school, right? Concerned about if their boyfriend is the one that God has for them. And I get it, right? But it's like, I just wonder, like, is that just like in the Hispanic, like, you know, community or world?
I don't think it's only
kind of like instilled in us.
No,
that
I think it's a very conservative thing. I think that, you know, whether it's, you know, white American, black American, or you know, Latino, conservative Christians, I think that there is a very, you know, dating is much more strict. You know, I don't even think dating is like the word, is really more like courting in those very like conservative circles, where the idea is, I think, you know, don't waste your time playing with Billy or playing with whoever. You know, set your time and your space for the person that you think is going to be your spouse. And you know, I find validity in that, but I also find validity in the fact that depending on your age, depending on where you find yourself in life, you know, sometimes it's just good to go out and meet people, you know. And I think that a lot of times also people mess up things that could be good because of the stress of, are you the one? Do you want to have the kids? Do you want to do this? Whatever it is, like,
what's your ministry? Our ministry is compatible, you know.
Which is so funny, because I remember teenage years and very early, because, you know, me and my wife got together when I was about 23, I think I was. But, you know, up until that point, you know, I wasn't that wasn't my mentality. My mentality was, if you get to know someone, that's cool. You go on a couple of dates, go to the movies, do this, do that. Just go out and have fun. It wasn't never like, our ministries compatible. Do you want this? Do you want that? It wasn't until I was like, okay, I'm in a place in my life where I'm ready to settle, and I'm in a not settle that like.
Settle down.
And yeah. So no, but the other people
not
be like,
settling.
I'm not settling. Yes. And like, get the one and then start, get into the journey of the family and all that stuff, whatever, was when I was like, all right, so then there's certain questions that do have to come up in these conversations eventually. On day one, do I have to be like, what's your ministry? What is the calling God has for you? What's your purpose? Like, no, you don't really have to. There are ways to talk about that, because when you're having conversation with people and you're, especially if you're two individuals that don't even go to the same church. I think that when you go to the same church, you kind of already know people's deal, like their bio, their resume. But when you're dating someone that is not from your church, then you ask them about, oh, what do you guys do? What do you do for fun? How's your church like? What do you do? And then in those conversations, you will find that the person's going to speak about what's closest to their heart. If there's someone who loves youth ministry, they're going to be talking about youth ministry a lot. If there's someone who loves kids ministry, they're going to be talking about kids ministry a lot. And then you're going to get those clues about who this person is, and then eventually you get into those deep dive conversations. Also, I just think that it all serves its purpose, because I also understand, I've also seen the individuals that are dating 12 people at once, and it's really more they just want to have fun and is less commitment. But then the people that they're dating are looking for commitment, and I think that that's an issue. That's wrong.
And we're talking specifically about Christians dating, right?
Yes.
Because if we were talking about just regular dating out there, standards and things are way different, right? This is a conversation specifically about believers dating and Christians dating and Christians dating other Christians, because then we get the conversation of Christians dating non-Christians and non-believers and all that. These are two Christians coming together to date, right? To date. And for some people, they have good habits and bad habits and good patterns and bad patterns. And like you said, I think ultimately a lot of times what happens is it's just a waste of time. Right. You wasted that other individual's time who thought you were ready to commit and you were ready to, move forward in this relationship. And here you are just wanting to have fun. And I think when it comes to Christian dating, because we are believers and because our lives are not our own and because we serve someone that is higher than us and we're not in control of our own lives, I think it's important to make sure that we are not entering relationships or entering the dating scene to complete and fill certain voids in our life, and we hear this often when people say the phrase "you complete me" and all of those things, and we'll have the preachers and stuff say that's not true. God is the only one that can complete you, and it's actually very true, right? I think a lot of times individuals enter relationships or enter the dating world because there is a void. They don't want to be lonely. They feel lonely. They don't want to be lonely. They feel like they're by themselves. They're on holidays and they're by themselves. Everyone around them has a partner or a significant other. It's Christmas and all of that. Cuffing season is covered. So they say all of these things where it's like, I need to have someone next to me. I need to have, I want that. And it's good to want it, right? But now if you're wanting that to fill a void of something that you don't want to confront in your own life, right? Because you can't be by yourself or you don't like to be alone in your own thoughts and you constantly need to be around people and in company with others, then it's not going to work well in the actual relationship, So I think a lot of times we need to go into these dating relationships and in this dating world, one, knowing that God's first, he's priority, and that relationship with him needs to be strong, but also communicating from the beginning what it is. Because you can just go out for dinner with someone and it doesn't have to be a serious date. Or there needs to be a follow-up one. You can have a call or a conversation with someone one time, and it doesn't have to be this whole grand thing, right? But if you are looking for that commitment or if you are looking for that second date or future moments together, I think it's important to communicate that from the beginning. Do you understand? Like in the sense of I'm going into this, I just want to go out to eat because I'm hungry. While that other person's there thinking like, wow, like, is this a date? Whatever. And then at the end of it, the other person's like, oh, like, I'd like to do this again sometime. And you're like, yeah, me too. Mind you, deep down inside, like, no, I just wanted to eat.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you don't have to start from
that.
the beginning and be like, well, I plan on doing this more often with you, right? Not like that. But being honest with the individual where it's like, no, like, this was just like, you know, you have to be wise in obviously how you say it.
Yeah, I do.
But you have to communicate what's happening.
Yeah.
What is it that you want from this? Is this just a friendship? While the other person's there, like, you know, having feelings for you? Or is it, you know, this is a relationship I think I would like to pursue with you and I would like to get to know you more?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It was funny because it was like I transported myself back to early dating or before we started dating, my wife and I. And it was funny because she had this habit of always calling me bro. So it'll be like, you know, we'll be texting and stuff like that. She'll be like, yeah, bro, whatever. And I'm like, why she keep calling me bro?
My mom calls my dad bro.
Yeah, you know, but it was like one of those things that we had to like work through in the beginning because I was like, because it was one of those things where you start to think, are we
friend
just
zoning
friends?
me?
Yeah, like are you friend zoning me, or is this just, you know, it's just lingo? It's just lingo that you work and you talk through. She's still to this day married, almost 10 years, will still call me bro. But it was funny because those are the things that you have to kind of like work through and even like ask about. And be like, you keep calling me bro, or you keep like, I remember having that conversation with her about being like, you're very like formal with me. Like, it's just that, is that just the way that you talk, or is just specifically you're choosing to use that language with me? So I do agree. There is an idea of being upfront and asking the right questions. You know,
absolutely.
You know, do I think that, you know, you're like, hey, I want to go out with you and be in a committed dating relationship with you where we have at least 5 dates? No. That's that I feel like will scare somebody off.
Absolutely.
But if you are asking someone out and being clear, like, hey, I want to take you out, let's go, you know, because I feel like a lot of times, and I feel like it's a language that maybe people use it, which is like, oh, you want to hang out? Hang out, I feel like it's too general. What does hanging out mean? Like, is it just us, or is it a group of people, or whatever? But being like, oh, I would like to take you out, I think it's different. I feel like it sets a precedent of, oh, okay, this is an us thing. Okay, cool. But I think it's very important that churches create events and spaces, very well done, please, not cheesy, for single people, you know, because it's like we have single people in your church and it's like, but they've been around all these people. They don't want nobody from their church. They want somebody from somebody else's church. You know, so you have to create events and you have to create spaces for people to be able to confraternizar, fellowship together and have those moments. And I think the idea of having the couples there or the friends there is really good because sometimes you need a hype man. You need someone to be like, don't you think, you know, she looks nice or he looks nice or he's funny or whatever. Or you're looking for someone that wears glasses. Look, there's somebody that has glasses. Go, you know, talk to them. And I think it's important for us as churches to be mindful of our people who are single. And, you know, to create spaces and events for them and encourage them, you know, obviously pray for them. But I feel like as a church, we could be doing a lot more for them. And I remember back in the day when we used to do those type of events, they were always fun. You know, people at first is always awkward because nobody wants to talk to no one first. But you create events and you do like little games that, you know, put people in situations where you have to talk to someone you don't know. And if it works out, it works out. And if it doesn't, at least they made a new friend. And then you go from there. And, you know, eventually, little by little, you know, they maybe met someone there who wasn't a right match for them. But then they have a friend who would be a good match for them. So, you know, it's all about the domino effect of how creating relationships and like, what is it, like the circles of people, degrees. Like, you know, you're like 3 degrees of separation or 2 degrees of separation away from finding someone that may be the one for you. You just have to make that right connection with someone else that's random who will then lead you to them.
Absolutely. And I think it's one of those things where you have to just put yourself out there and you have to overcome that fear. You have to overcome kind of all of the things that could go wrong, right? And when you put yourself out there, like, you don't have to be weird about it. You know what I mean? You don't have to enter into conversation about, you know, are you like post-tribulation, pre-tribulation? Like, are you like all of those things, you know, like,
unless,
do you believe
you know
baptism? Right. And there's some people that maybe that's their flow,
yes,
but you don't have to get into all of the serious stuff. I think a lot of times as Christians, we can get caught up in those things and caught up in all of that where it's very much like, man, just enjoy that person's company. We spoke about this before. Talk about your hobbies and your interests, right? You don't have to just be very churchy and talk everything church related. But if that's kind of what you guys, like, and that's the flow, like I said, then go for it, right?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times we just put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
Yes.
And we put a lot of, of our own insecurities and our own thoughts when it comes to the dating scene, where half the time it's like that person didn't notice that, or half the time that person is not looking at that, or the person doesn't know your flaw, your insecurity, and you're there kind of like freaking out over it. It's like, just take that step forward, put yourself out there, get out of your comfort zone. And it's not easy. You know what I mean? It's difficult, especially as you continue to get older and as you continue to change. It's just, it gets difficult. I think about even during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Think about during the pandemic where people really weren't going out like that. It's like, it's hard. And now I think also with like technology and all of those things, there are different, creative ways to meet people, right? Christian Mingle, all that stuff. There's Christian dating sites. I know some people who, have found somebody like through there. And then there are other people that are like, I could never. Do what works for you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. And there's people that have tried it and it didn't work. And it's just, at the end of the day, me at 34, going 35 years old, if I was a single person thinking about dating, I'll be like, me me quedo solo. I feel like it's a very different realm. It's very different. The way people socialize now is very different also, especially like post-pandemic. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that there isn't opportunity and that there isn't a way, and that, you can meet people, and sometimes you have to go through the unfortunate process of getting to know someone, liking them, and then finding out that they're not the right fit. So then you kind of have to end that and then start the process all over again. Like that's very tiresome. And I think that a lot of people give up because of that, because of they don't want to put themselves through the emotional journey or through the whatever type of journey, mental journey that entails. But if you really want to find someone, if that's what you want and desire for yourself, and you feel like that's what God wants for you as well, then you really just have to keep doing it. Like you really have to keep going out, putting yourself out there, building relationships and friendships with people. And sometimes it's not with the intention of I need the man or I need the woman. I'm gonna go, sometimes just build relationships with people, and you never know that eventually, like I said, through that degree of separation, you make a connection with someone who then makes a connection with somebody else who leads you to someone.
And at the end of the day, make sure that you have that connection and relationship with God as you are dating. And as you are going out there, make sure that you're putting God first, and make sure you're consulting with God and you're asking God, I'm talking to this person, and pray over that friendship, pray over that relationship, and include him. You know what I mean? Don't enter into all of these different, friendships, or enter into a relationship with someone and then ask God, what do you think? After the fact, there were all these red flags that you chose to ignore, there were all these things that God was trying to let you know, like, this is not going to be good for you. Don't do this. Don't do that. Now you want to kind of consult with him. Bring God into your situation. Bring God into your dating world. And I think as Christians, that's what makes the difference. And that's what really the difference should be. I'm not just going out there dating, and I'm not just going out there putting myself out there and have no accountability. I am being held accountable, and I have an accountability to God. And, there is someone that I have to go back to and be like, God, is this what I should be doing? Is this right? What do you think? And, I think when you have that connection and that deep relationship with God, that you're not just telling God what you want from him, but you're actually consulting with him, I believe he leads you and he guides you. Will he allow certain things to happen? Yeah. But he is there with you. Will he sometimes allow heartbreak? And are there moments of, heartbreak in dating and relationships? Of course. Yeah. And he's there with you throughout that process. Yeah. Absolutely. So, I hope that today you're just a little bit encouraged to maybe put yourself out there a little bit more and just be a little bit bold and courageous. And if you maybe have been on the dating scene but haven't been putting God first and haven't been consulting God or haven't been praying, I believe you can pray for your, spouse ahead of time, and pray for that person that God has for you, or that person that, you're going to meet, and pray and make a list of qualities. We've spoken about this before. Make a list of qualities and things that you would want to see in that person. Pray over that list. But don't get hung up on the list. Yes. Because God may come and give you someone that may not meet that criteria to you, but you know what? This is the individual who God really has for you. Yeah. So I think this process just involves your trust and complete confidence in God, in the God that has a plan and a purpose that may not be what you expected, like we talked about last week.
Yeah, and I listen, and if you are single and you're like, dang, my church doesn't do anything for us single people. Start it. Absolutely, 100%. Don't think it's cheesy. Like, oh, they're going to think I'm doing this for me. And if you are, so what? Do it for you too, but it's going to benefit other people. And if you're someone who is not single, but you're like, man, it's true, we should do that, do it. Yeah. And consult the single people that you know to ask them, what would be a good idea? What would be something that you find fun? What's something that you would find interesting so that you can incorporate that as well? Because if the last time you dated was in the 1980s and you think you're going to come and create something relevant for the people today, maybe, but I think it's better that you check in with people that are single in 2023 to find out what's current, like what's going on. What will be something that'll be interesting for you guys. But regardless, if you're a single person or you're someone looking to help single people, go ahead and create the event.
Absolutely. So we hope you guys are blessed and encouraged today. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can be notified every time we drop a new episode. Don't forget, our episodes are now bi-weekly. So every other week you can check out a brand new episode. Stay connected to our social media. We may drop consecutive episodes here and there throughout the summer, but we were going to be just busy and enjoying our summer as well, and still doing what we love to do here for sure.
Yeah, so absolutely thank you once again for tuning into the latest episode of the God Life Culture Podcast. That's
God Life Culture.
Until next time.
See ya.
Bye.